Good morning. I'm Janelle Leonard. I am the owner of Marketing Resource Group, and I've had the honor of planning and organizing this event along with Deb Muchmore. It is an exciting day, and you will hear from our speakers about the incredible investments that are happening here in downtown Lansing. As a tenant of this specific building, it's exciting to see the incredible things and the vision that these speakers have for this region in this state. I ask that you please silence your cell phones, and with that, I will turn it over to Paul Gianalozzi. Thank you, Paul.
I really appreciate all of you coming today. It was about this same time in 1980 that we met with a crowd like this on a topic similar to this, and that was to introduce the construction and development of 1 Michigan Avenue. That was a big deal for downtown because there hadn't been a new office building downtown in 40 years. So for our family, it was the start of our business. It was the start of Gianalozzi Real Estate, and it was the start of us doing things with city government and state government in the city of Lansing. Now, I consider myself a downtown guy. I came here to work in 1965 as a clerk at the Naphtha Capitol Avenue store. And I worked first in housewares, stocking dishes, and then I got promoted to sporting goods. And that started my life downtown, and it's continued. And Lansing has been not only our city as a family, but it's been our success in business, our economic success, and something we're very proud of. I want to take a moment to introduce everybody that's here today to help us celebrate this event. First of all, Mayor Shore, who we could not have gotten this project started without. Speaker Tate, whose support, along with Representative Whitwer, made the politics of the House side really happen for us. On the Senate side, the leader of the group, or our PAC, so to speak, Senator Sarah Anthony, who, along with Senator Singh, they were the first people that we met with our big ideas. And we were really proud of the welcoming way they brought us into the Capitol, the way they were enthused about what we did and what we're doing, and the way they supported us through the appropriations process and through our journey to get here today. Some other important people to us today is President Price Dobernick of the unions, and my son John, and more importantly, my business partner, Joe Kosick, who's over here with my wife Debbie, my son Tony, and his wife Julie, and one more really important person that is my mentor for believing in Lansing. And that's a guy that I've known since 1970, and it's Joel Ferguson. All of you know Joel, and having Joel here with us to celebrate this event is a very, very special thing. I made my first dollar in the real estate business from a commission from Joel Ferguson. And he's been there with Lansing, and the work he did on the Red Cedar project, the iconic work, was motivational for us. So I want to welcome Joel amongst all our other honored guests. Rather than to belabor the point, we're here to show you what our dream is for changing the skyline of Lansing. And without it, without the team, without Senator Anthony, without Representative Whitmer, and without Sam Singh, we couldn't have gotten here. So I'd like to turn this over now to the mayor to talk about his vision that we're willing to share.
All right, well, thank you, Paul. I actually didn't bring any notes because I'm going to kind of wing it. First, I want to recognize we have City Councilman Dr. Jeffrey Brown. That's all right. No, it's okay. That's for me. So our City Councilman is here. We appreciate you being here. This is an exciting day. We have talked for a very long time in Lansing about, nights and weekends. How do you have more people here in nights and weekends? More recently, we've seen less state employees. So how do you kind of help the downtown? We've been doing a lot of work. Our downtown Lansing folks are here. I saw Kathleen, but the lights are bright. There you are on the right, and Julie. They're doing just a ton of work here. You're seeing a lot of new things, new businesses and others. But from the beginning, even before the pandemic, we have said, I have said that housing is the key. Making sure that we have people living downtown, walking around, shopping, going to the retail, going to the restaurants. It's the reason that we brought in a grocery store. Pat Gillespie finished that with some housing and a hotel, the first hotel in like 30, 40 years. It's the reason that we're building the Ovation Concert Hall, because there are amenities that we want to have downtown. We are building our downtown for those who not only visit here but live here. When you have 450 to 500 new units, that can be 700 to 1,000 new people that are walking around. This is density. This is what we've seen in Grand Rapids. This is what we've seen in Columbus and so many other cities. You build density with people who live there, and they move around, and that really boosts your downtown with walkability. Not only does it help the downtown, it helps the rest of the city. Because when you have that kind of an active downtown, people in the neighborhoods, I don't live in the downtown, but I come downtown all the time because I love all the activity, the businesses. So it helps the entire city and it helps the entire region. So for me, the vision has always been grow our city, grow it for everybody, grow it together, make sure we have, all the needs. But housing is absolutely top of mind. We have seen several new developments come in over the last 2-3 years, and they're all full. When you look at Metro Place, when you look at Capitol View, when you look at City View, they're about to open another batch of apartments, and they're all full. People want to live downtown, even those who are working remotely. If we have the #1 remote work city in the nation, good and bad. But what we say is now those folks all want to live downtown. After 8 hours of sitting at your computer inside, you want to go out and walk the dog. You want to go out and get a bite to eat. We have to have capacity. So we're going to have people coming here one way or the other. We need to have the housing. And even more importantly, and then I'll shut up, even more importantly is the fact that this is workforce housing. We have a lot of legislative staff. I was on legislative staff for years. You make $35,000, $40,000 as a legislative staffer, you got to be able to afford to live downtown. And with workforce housing that's going to be going up, now those folks are going to be able to afford to live here. So all of that is tremendously important for our city. So we are really excited. We've been working with the Gentilozzi family on making this happen. And then the legislature came in and they helped out with some money that we're excited to see go towards this project. We're willing to look at different pieces. We're going to work with council on what more the city can do. But having this done, especially by the end of next year, will be transformational. If by the end of the next year, these are done, and the Ovation is done, and you're seeing all these businesses come in, it rolls downhill. There's going to be so much more that comes in as a result of this. So I appreciate the Gentilozzi family. I appreciate the legislature. We're very excited to put a whole lot more people to work with our trades. So this is it's a win-win, and I'm really excited. So thank you, and I get to introduce a gentleman whose first love is Detroit. So we know that. But he's done so much here in Lansing. He joined with us when we helped the Afghan refugees, and he was here. He works here. I'd say 3 days a week, but it's probably more like 5 days a week or 7 days a week. But Speaker Joe Tate has just been a tremendous advocate and ally for the city of Lansing, along with Representative Angela Whitwer, who I know is here, who we greatly appreciate, and Senator Anthony, Senator Singh. We love our delegation, and we count Speaker Joe Tate as part of our delegation. So thank you for all you've done, and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I think those who know me know that I like to follow the 3 Bs, brother, be brief. So whenever I'm getting in front of a microphone, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. But thank you, Mayor Shore. Please don't tell Mayor Duggan that I'm a part of the Lansing caucus. I might get a phone call from him later today. But as was mentioned, first off, I bring greetings from the Michigan State House, and lucky to have this opportunity to talk about this work. Ever since we started the 102nd legislative session, one thing has always come up. there's been one connecting factor in terms of priorities that I think everyone across the state has been looking at, and that's been housing. So whether it is in Marquette or Traverse City or Muskegon and Muskegon Heights, which I was just there yesterday, just talking about different projects, it has been housing. That's been the one piece that's been, I think, we've been able to come together in terms of support. And we started it from the beginning. So whether it was budget supplementals for our Housing and Community Development Fund, building out our Missing Middle program, and then what the vision that Mr. Gentilozzi and his family and Mayor Shore have today here to create more housing starts, because we know that is a particular point where our communities, any community doesn't flourish unless there is attainable housing and workforce housing here. And in particular, as Mayor Shore mentioned, I'm a Detroiter, so I'm a city boy. But having that investment in our urban areas is critical for our economic growth, for our vibrancy of our communities across the entire state. So that's going to be something that we're going to continue to push, I know, in the Michigan State House. And just want to thank our counterparts in the Senate. I know my partner in the Senate, Senate Majority Leader Brinks, I know she shares that same sentiment as well too. Chair Anthony and the work that she's been doing. I know Floor Leader Singh is here as well too, but also a special shout out for Chair Angela Whitwer and the work that she's been doing. If many of you all know, we have 110 members in the House, so it can get a little rough and tumble. But her leadership in driving on the House side, the appropriations process, we wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for her leadership and what she's been able to do. So really looking forward to seeing this flourish, and know that you have a supporter, you have a friend in the Michigan State House, in particular when it comes to how are we growing our housing starts. And one huge component, and I would like to turn it over to my friend President Dobrnik from a local 333 for UA, such an important part, knowing that we have the support and the resources, but we have those skilled trades people that can build and that can do the work in order for us to meet these visions. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to President Dobrnik.
Good morning. And unlike the speaker and the mayor, I do have notes, otherwise I'll get myself in trouble here. So again, good morning. My name is Price Dobrnik. I'm the business manager of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union here in Lansing. I first want to congratulate the Gentilozzi family, as well as JFK Investments, on the big announcement this morning, which will transform the Lansing skyline in the Central Business District. I also want to thank both groups for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning and represent both my members and the members of the Lansing Building Trades. Most of all, I want to thank JFK Investments and the Gentilozzis for their commitment to my membership in the Lansing Building Trade Unions across our great city. The wages and benefits earned by our membership will flow through many other businesses through Lansing, allow families to grow here in our city, and also increase opportunities for apprenticeships right here in Lansing. And the Lansing Building Trades will be able to continually work with the Lansing School District, as we've been doing for the last couple years, to make those young folks ready for the apprenticeship in whatever trade they may choose. So with that, I'm going to be brief. I simply want to say that I'm super excited about the project, and I'm looking forward to doing my part and rolling up my sleeves to help get it across the finish line. So with that, I want to introduce our next speaker, and that's John Gentilozzi. John?
Thanks, sir. You got it. Appreciate it. Go right ahead. I also brought notes, just if we're keeping score. So, in a parallel life, I spent a lot of time in motorsports and being an engineer in a motorsports setting. And one of the things that you learn there is that data rules your life. What does the data tell us? What does the data tell us about the car, about the driver? But we also must act on our gut. What context is there in the data? So what does the data tell us about downtown Lansing? Well, vacancy rates might not be a great story. The traffic count may be down. Ask any retailer about their end-of-day numbers. But what does the other data tell us? The other data sees investments from GM, Michigan State, private industry, here in Lansing, here in our area. Lansing, as the mayor said, is the #1 net migration city in the country. People are coming to Lansing, and people aren't leaving Lansing, and that's an important point to remember. What does our gut tell us? My gut for Lansing doesn't extend back nearly as far as everyone that you've heard from today. My first memory of a major event in Lansing was seeing Roger Turner fight at the old Civic Center. I saw Dusty Rhodes wrestle, same Civic Center. He was victorious that day. I did actually go back and look. And then and don't yell, I did play football for Grand Ledge. But when we walked off the field for our last game in town, which was against Sexton, we looked up and saw all the guys on second shift take their lunch to watch the football game on top of that factory. And that meant something. That meant we were part of a town. That meant that people had an interest in seeing Lansing succeed. And I don't believe that that interest has changed. I don't believe that anything has come at all between that interest in making Lansing better. Something that we've talked about a few times as we've gone through the various parts of this project is that people, for the most part, they leave Lansing and they find something interesting to them. Maybe it was an interesting part of another downtown. Maybe it was a cool hotel. Maybe it was a restaurant. Maybe it was a bar. Maybe it was just the experience of being in that community. But we don't tell that story of Lansing, and we need to. We need to tell people how cool Lansing is. We need to tell people how special of a place this is. And the more we do that, the more people will come and join us here in this special city. We can't tell someone, if you want a vibrant downtown, if you want a central business district that's better than your expectations, you need to go to Grand Rapids or Detroit. No, we can do that here. We can do that ourselves, and we start that today. And we do that with 3 distinct projects. So the first project that we'll talk about is the Tower on Grand, which is the jewel in this portfolio of projects. A 25-story apartment tower, more than 320 feet in the air, attached parking for nearly 500 cars, and is going to be one of the most significant buildings that you see as you come into downtown Lansing. Next project that you'll see is the Washington Square project. Washington Square is 101 years old, and in many ways the story of that building is the story of Lansing. The final project we'll discuss is the Capitol Tower project northwest of the Capitol grounds. Who wouldn't want to wake up, and legislators may have a different opinion, who wouldn't want to wake up, walk out on their balcony, and see our grand state capitol in full view? I suppose it depends on the day, doesn't it, sir? So let's move first to some more details about the Tower on Grand. As I said, 25 stories tall, going to be the tallest building in Lansing. All different floor types from studio to penthouse, both workforce and market rent structures. And we're particularly proud of being able to fit these workforce rent structures into this project because while the rendering is shiny, while the glass is reflective, it doesn't speak to the type of person that can choose to live there. Everyone who lives in this town, everyone who goes to work every day should be able to have a home in one of these projects. That's why we're so adamant that we have these workforce structures involved. Beyond that, our favorite part is atop the parking deck is nearly an acre of amenity space for the apartment residents and the community residents from these projects. So in the morning, you can head to the dog run, maybe have a quick game of pickleball, work out in the gym, have your coffee overlooking the river. That's the kind of lifestyle that we're trying to bring to Lansing for everyone. In addition to that amenity space, we've got restaurants and activity spaces planned that will make not only the apartment community better, but the entire Lansing community better. The next project is the Washington Square building. And as I said, it has a bit of a connection to what we're talking about in Lansing anyway. It's a 101-year-old building, used to house the Court of Appeals. What we're looking at today is a second life for that building, a second life for downtown Lansing. We're going to put affordable workforce rent housing in the shadow of the Capitol. That's an important message to everyone in this state that these programs are important and these redevelopments are important. Additionally, the architectural side of me wants to say we do have high ceilings, exposed structure, and a really nice way to live. If for example, tall and shiny is not your thing, we've got a place that you're going to feel right at home. The final project in this list is the Capitol Tower. Once again, as I said, we opened to sweeping views of the state capitol, balconies, a place to call home, and even to walk home, more importantly. For a lot of our state employees, for a lot of our city employees, the chance to leave your house in the morning with nothing but your shoes and experience your entire day in downtown Lansing and never have to find a parking spot. That's a really tantalizing offer that I think we can make in this project. Now, there is some office space in this, but I can tell you honestly that there wouldn't be unless we had a tenant that we're working with to put in that office space. That, to the bottom line today, is that we're going to build housing. We're going to build housing for the people of Lansing, and this office space happened to fit in the building and is incredibly cool. I can't wait to show everybody what it looks like. So that's the tour of our projects, and more importantly, the tour of our hope for downtown Lansing. And we're here to complete this, we're here to do this, and we're going to make Lansing better with the help of everyone here in this room today. Thank you very much. I'll now open the floor to questions.
Any questions from anyone? Is there anything to grab?
I know somebody. And I want to, first of all, brilliant presentation, John. I don't know where the genetics came from. But there's a couple other folks that we didn't mention that are really pivotal in this project. The Hobbs and Black architectural firm, who did their first job with us, this project, the building that you're in 1986. And Bill Hobbs and Dick Black were partners in millions of square feet, millions of dollars of development. And we looked around the Midwest. We looked at a lot of great buildings. We talked to a lot of architects, but we came home to partners we knew we could trust who shared our vision. So we really want to welcome the Hobbs and Black firm. And also the Crispin Company, Steve Rosnowski, who couldn't be here today because of a conflict. Crispin is our builder. They do our work. I've known the Crispin family. I worked there in 1968 on the medical building at Michigan State University, and I'm proud of that relationship. I've known Steve Rosnowski since he was just a little kid over off Barnes Avenue. Another believer in Lansing, and we're honored to have the Crispin Company as part of our team. This is a Lansing project. Joe Kosick, my partner, Joe has invested in Lansing, owns hundreds of thousands of square feet with us, and has been a leader in his community and a leader in Bloomfield Hills, where he's from. We don't hold that against him, and a leader in the snow ski recreational industry in Michigan and in Wisconsin and in Ontario. So again, we're glad to talk about anything. We're really honored that you're here, and we hope the next thing we see you at is a groundbreaking, and after that, the day we celebrate the top floor of the tower on Grand. So, any questions? At anybody? Yes, sir.
An acquaintance of mine had done his own personal study on downtown Lansing. He found that it was about 63% of downtown by area as is already parking structure and parking lot. So I'm seeing that 500 unit space parking structure over top of the street. I know Grand also used to have one adjacent to the accident insurance building, and I do remember it being commonly said that that was a miserable space to walk through on the street level.
Yep.
Has there been like data and studies already done to show that we actually need triple the parking like capacity downtown that this says we need?
Well, I think we can directly answer that. And one of the important things about bringing people to the CBD, especially in a town the size of ours, a metropolitan area of 250 or so thousand, you can't change their culture. You can't say to someone who lives in a suburban apartment and brings their groceries to the door of the building and parks outside the window of their apartment, you can't say, you're parking now 2 blocks away. We're going to change your habits. in all of the Midwestern cities, all of them, as we've seen economic development done in high-rise multifamily, it always has an attached parking structure. Here, we're solving two problems. We have a footprint big enough to build the tower. We needed additional green space, so we built over the street. Now, we built over the street twice as high as what was the old North Grand ramp connection to the old accident fund building. I drove through that many, many days. It's been gone now about 35 or 40 years, and it was too low. It was one floor. We're almost 3 floors above the street. That was one of the things that the Building and Planning Department really cared about. So we've answered that question, and we're providing parking primarily for the people who work in this building and will live in the tower. Sure.
Hey, Lansing State Journal. Just wondering if there's any properties that might be leveraged as part of this announcement.
How do you mean leveraged?
Are there any existing downtown or local properties that are part of the financing arrangement with this?
No, each of these projects is independent from a financial standpoint. New Vision is the master developer, and each entity will have its own debt, its own operating, but will operate under the control of Joe and I. Sure. Yes, David.
Don't sweat, man. I'm just curious, what's the formula? How do market and workforce rent structures work?
Oh, that's a great example. I'll let John talk about that. He's my expert.
So, without putting everyone to sleep, I will give you the most concise summary of this. A market rent is simply what the market will bear. So if, we know the rents of every apartment project in the city. And we know what people are paying for certain amenities, certain sizes, certain configurations. And our pricing is going to reflect the reality of the Lansing market and what it's able to bear. On the workforce rent, there are a variety of programs that can be described as workforce rent, but the most straightforward one is this. The Housing and Urban Development Department at the federal level sets the area median income. I knew I was going to mess that up. As a certain value, and they say within this percentage range, there is an inducement for you as the developer to maintain a particular rent based on either 80 or up to 120% of that value. And we're induced to hold those rents for a set period of time. It allows a much greater market of people that can live in our projects, and I think more critically than that, it's something that we know downtown needs. In our other conversations with stakeholders around downtown, it has been, I'd love to bring new people to downtown, but they can't find a place to live, or they can't find a place to live that they afford. Now, certainly there's a number of projects in Lansing that work outside of those zones, and those are great as well, but that's sort of the range that works best for us.
Do you want to talk just briefly? What is the AMI? 100% AMI for the greater Lansing area.
Don't put me on the spot.
It's around 60.
It's around 60,
Yeah.
I believe is the number that's published.
So these units, you'll be able to, I think it's 62,000 and some change.
50 to 70.
Yeah, it's
50 to 70 is about the range.
Yeah, it's a published number, and depending on how many people are in your family, and if you have 4 children, your AMI rent could be $100,000 a year for your family. Gross.
Yeah.
Right. And the rent is predetermined by HUD for our market. And it says to fit this classification, you can only charge this much rent. So the lead in, the HUD inducement and the MSHDA participation is in construction dollars. One of the problems we have is the construction cost for our property is going to be about $350 or $370 a square foot. It's the same as if it was in Cleveland or Detroit or Kalamazoo or Indianapolis. It doesn't matter. The costs are almost all the same. The problem is, in a small town, in a small market like ours, we only get $250 rents. So the commensurate rent, if you were downtown Detroit overlooking the river, your rent would probably be 30 or 40% higher than it will be in Lansing. So the reason for an appropriation and the reason for the transformational brownfield process is to help build those units to bring the cost of construction down to a median where the market itself can afford the rents. So, that answer you? Yeah. Perfect, thank you. Yes, sir.
This question, it's actually about the building we're in right now. I
Sure.
saw the plans did show it going over to this building.
Correct.
Will this building be preserved with part of the plan or the facade, or is it all being removed for?
Yeah, I'll let John tell you, but this is my favorite building. Nobody's messing with this
That's
building.
my worry too.
So I do appreciate it from the images. It's not immediately clear what's going to occur here, but essentially that wall right there, everything on the other side of that will be taken down, and the building will be interfaced into the parking lot with a bit of an adjoining structure there. Our plan for this building is to make this building the centerpiece, the front door of that apartment project. I mean, we've been saying for years, we wish more people would walk through this building and see how special it is. And we want to maintain that for the future because it is a hidden gem, and every time it never fails that you bring someone in here and they almost immediately fall over because they're straight up to the ceiling for everything. So no, we plan to make this building even more special than it already is.
Good.
We figured that was the answer.
The connection here, this was Lansing's, it was the state of Michigan's first retail mall. And those of us who are old, like my friend Joel here, we all went to the menswear store, which is where DTMB now, and bought our first suit if we could afford it, or we'd go to Kozacek's. So we want people in the apartment tower to use this as their connection to downtown. You should be able to leave your apartment on 15, come down the elevator, across the parking ramp, which will have a walkway, through the atrium and onto South Washington. So if you want to go to a restaurant, you never have to go outside. You walk to the street and you're connected. And connected is the important word. So no, the atrium in all of our real estate development is the love of my life from a building standpoint, and we're really proud to have participated in the saving of this structure. So a quick story: if you look up above, in the center of that in the center of that ceiling, you see a young girl's face. That was one of the Butterfield daughters, and the Butterfield Theater Group developed this building. When we bought it, there was a great big turnbuckle in the middle of her face and a chain that hung down that held a light fixture that was done in the 50s. And everything that you see above, we discovered. It was all covered with drywall. It was all painted army green. And we had no idea it was there as we began the redevelopment of this building. So we think it's a Lansing classic and is a special, special place. So.
Well, I'm Mayor Andy Shore, and we are here in the Atrium building downtown. This is one of our older buildings. It's beautiful, but we're here for an exciting announcement. The Gentilozzi family, they own some buildings, they're developers in Lansing. They're going to be investing over $200 million in creating some new housing in our downtown, upwards of 500 units, which can be 750, 1,000 people. Which is incredible. A lot of it is going to be workforce housing, so it's something that people who work downtown can afford. There's going to be a new tower on the river and another new tower on the west side of the Capitol, and then they're going to rehab some buildings on South Washington. There's going to be parking. There's going to be some green space, some restaurants, and it's all starting now. And they expect to have it done by the end of next year. So, we know that people want to live downtown. We know that we need more people downtown, during the days, nights, weekends. We have seen state employees be here less. So this is going to generate a lot more walkability, a lot more residents, a lot more businesses. So we're really excited to be part of this. The city is working with the Gentilozzi family. The legislature appropriated some dollars that's going to go towards this, and we get started today. So I'm excited.